Connect to the universal network with your third eye. Hi dear friends. Our topic today is the pineal gland, the set of the soul, the network router of our body, the point from which we connect to the universal network. There are many people who are wondering why they are here. Current global challenges are forcing us to ask important questions of why and how. These challenges are waking us up from the veiled matrix illusion and preparing us collectively for the transition to the next reality. I would like to start with an excerpt from Nikola Tesla on pineal gland and magnetism. Frequency of alpha waves in human brain ranges between 6 and 8 Hz. All biological systems function within the same frequency, just like human brain. Electrical resonance of the earth also functions at the same frequency. So, we can say all human biological systems, brain and the earth function at the same frequency. If we can learn to control this resonance electronically, we can control all mental systems of the humanity. This means Nikola Tesla inspired the negative powers that control the earth. These negative forces, along with other inventions and findings of Nikola Tesla and other scientists, are able to manipulate and control nature and humans. Why do I talk about this? Because I think the pineal gland and magnetism, electromagnetic field and poles of the earth are connected. This magnetism also exists in our brain. Let's start with pineal gland. I will also add some study, experiments and stories on this topic. Hope you like it. Descartes considered the pineal gland as the set of the soul. I say it is the entry and exit point of the soul. It's also an interface programmer that opens up the wormholes to other dimensions. It even controls the program. I also see it as the captain that leads this interface program, which connects the multi-universe and human to one another. It is the wholeness of the mind and soul, a soul entity, a router that connects. It's a supply unit that perceives your magnetic field within the multi-matrix and triggers your biorobotic field. I have experienced this truth both before and after the activation my pineal gland. This is a topic I really like. I would like to touch on the pineal gland first and move towards other subjects such as 4-dimension and matrix in my videos. Let's first learn who we are, what the pineal gland is, and the connection between soul and body. Pineal gland looks like a pine cone. It's a 3-dimensional Fibonacci spiral with a golden ratio. In truth, this shape is used in sacred geometry and in esoteric schools as a portal that enables access to other dimensions. The best example are the mystic Sufis. The whirling dervishes whirl Dusema to the sounds of rhythmic hammer and nail flute. Their direction is from outward to inward. In the same way, the spiral originates from the center point. Both in spiral and helizonic time, the spiral turns from outside to inside and leap to the other time fields. The purpose of the time cycles is to elevate the soul and unite it with the One. Let's talk about the real story of Rumi and Shams. You may feel saddened by this story. I love Shams and Rumi very much and feel Shams is not explained to us entirely. There are some accusations of Shams being an Anunnaki or evil. I don't agree with any of these because I really work with connecting to Shams deep in my heart so that I could learn from his knowledge. I see an incredible wisdom he united with the One, walked towards the One after living in solitude in complete surrender. He became back to humanity with a mission as a symbol to return to Rumi. When people don't understand the teachings of certain masters, they tend to accuse them in cruel ways. I have also experienced this myself, even from those I considered close friends. Therefore, I understand Shams, and now his light will never be dimmed in eternity. Let's begin with the story. Shams was a wanderer with a divine mission in human appearance. In order for Rumi to shed his light to the universe, he had to experience the secrets of the truth. This knowledge could only be given by someone with a neutral consciousness. After entering the school of Bektashi, Shams, the real sun, united himself with Rumi. He shattered all Rumi's conceptions and taught him secret sciences. Not everyone can give such education. This knowledge is priceless. My destiny education is also priceless. Such knowledge came over a long period of time as a result of self-investigation and traumatic events. Some people couldn't understand the teachings of Shams back then. Even today, most people don't understand it. While Shams and Rumi went very deep in their studies, certain groups of people started to feel very jealous of their relationship. They come to very weird, absurd conclusions about the nature of their relationship. In the meantime, Rumi was discovering the One with divine law, and he was intoxicated. This intoxication is such that when you find it or see its reflection in the mirror, it can give the experience of divine drunkenness. Divine system was observing all this, has decided to end the mission of Shams after Rumi reached a maturity state and become the divine light to the universes. In one of Rumi's dreams, Shams appeared as evil. This was arranged by the system. The close codes in Rumi's brain were activated and divine flow was obtained. Upon seeing this dream, Rumi started to distance himself from Shams. Son of Rumi and his relatives murdered Shams and threw him into a well. Of course, if the divine system didn't approve it, this would never have happened. So we see there is a different reality behind what appears. Justice of Allah always functions in perfection. If not here, it will be in the next life, Spatyom Ahiret. You reap what you sow. Shams completed his mission and accepted his cruel and therefore sacrificed himself. This means he had completely surrendered to the state of observer. Those who are in complete surrender offer such sacrifices. Angels are the same. Once they complete their mission, they move on. After Sham's death, the truth was shown to Rumi via a dream and clear vision. He spent days in regret and tears. One day, he was in the iron market and heard the acoustic sound of the iron master, where he was hitting it with a hammer. This sound is similar to the sound of Matrix. I quite often hear it myself. Dimensional doors opened. At that moment, he started whirling in a spiral way in the market. This is actually a Merkaba experience. Rumi activated his pineal gland and reached his nirvana. He could travel to higher dimensions and experience seyri sülük, the oneness. Afterwards, the spiral whirling to the sounds of ney, a flute that made of kargi, and to impersonate the sounds of universal oneness become a ritual beyond time. This topic of accessing to other dimensions is very important. Our transition to the new reality, our harvest is dependent on this. Merkaba practice is similar to this. Pineal gland is like a black hole. Bible talks about it too. In the movie Night Prophecy, they talk about how the body can change form to half energetic and half physical matter. This is the reality in 4 dimensions. No dense matter there, being used half energetic, half dense matter avatar bodies. The matter on this plane is not avatar. Those who die to their ego, those who can travel to other realities can be given a body here. Everyone can have this experience depending on their state of their consciousness. There are many techniques that can help with activation of the pineal gland. But I will begin with sharing a scientific experiment. Walter Rose, a scientist who claimed to have activated his pineal gland, did a resonance stimulator experiment. He examined the effects of monopolar magnetic fields on matter. He studied whether a human can see different dimensions by using a magnet on the northern direction of the pineal gland. He placed a 2-polarized magnetic stick on his head and located it in the northeast direction with a 20-degree angle in a dark environment. He explains. The first week, as I sat on my desk, I saw an image passing from the corner of my eye. There was magnetic bandana placed on my head. As I looked up, I saw a ghost-like figure passing from the wall, coming to the center of the room and disappear from another wall. It seemed he didn't notice me. The same thing happened on the second and third week. On the second week, the same ghost figure passed from the room and looked at me. This image was clearer than the one I saw the first time. It was not so much like a ghost. On the third week, I noticed a change in the room. When I looked up, the wall disintegrated and I saw a woman and a man sitting under a tree on a small hill. It was the same male figure I have seen before. He looked at me and seemed afraid of me. He probably thought I was a ghost. Then both of them started walking towards me. I got very scared, and at that moment the wall went back to normal. I have never again used the pineal gland activator. We can assume the scientist Walter Rose has time traveled to another location or traveled to parallel universe. I say this because his vision had a human figure. He started to show himself in the parallel universe. Is completely related to magnetism. When you exceed the speed of light, you can enter anti-universe and travel to parallel universes. Black holes and white holes are next to one another. Different parallels are located next to each other. One can leap to those realities. Stephen Hawking also talked about the traveling to parallel universes in 30 years. Pineal gland is the most important hyperdimensional interface gland. It can start functioning differently when protected from electromagnetic fields, sounds, or other shocks. Imagine a water volume vehicle that is shaped like a pine cone, is filled with water, and more blood flow passes through it than it does in the brain. I would like to stress the fact that there is an electromagnetic shield inside the pineal gland, and that its health is very important for our well-being. Usage of LSD and similar drugs can deform this shield and shut down its function temporarily. This can lead to serious effects in dimensional consciousness. Consumption of these drugs can harm the protective shield to a point of no return. If activated in excess, it can harm the mental health of the person. Ayahuasca rituals or other psychedelic experiments done without care can result in serious problems. It's important to be ready for such activation. Not everyone has to do it either. One must start with purification of themselves. Some of my calm or shaman friends also talk about the importance of purification in this process. I have never experimented with these things. I haven't even smoked cigarettes. I only spent long time in darkness and recitated zikr intensely. I have also used mantras, but mostly worked with zikr. If you are interested in entering these paths, please follow a good guide. Sunburn temple tree, mapped tree, or use it as a tea. They mix it with üzerlik seed. There are recipes. You can search how to make it. I have seen both those who consumed a lot and didn't see a thing, and those with little consumption were able to leap into different realms. I believe this is dependent on the state of awareness and level of realization of the soul. Let's talk about the cycle of the magnetic polar axis and its effect on pineal gland. Also, let's add how two poles of our brain are affected by the changes in magnetism. You may know about the Horus Eye of Egypt is divided by 64 thought drew it, and it was passed from generation to generation. This information is from Atlantis. Masters in the ancient times knew this very well. There is always lingam place in front of Shiva, When we look at it, we see the water flowing on top of the lingam. It looks like a barrel, and there is a spiral cycle around it. This is symbolic of the pineal gland. Pineal gland is mentioned in all sacred teachings, not just in Egypt. All inquiries are leading us to pineal gland, how it functions, its hormones, and its connection to the soul and body. Pineal gland produce melatonin, serotonin, and DMT. These hormones can alter the mind with piezoelectric crystals. We see there is a continuous flow of water inside the pineal gland. The piezoelectric crystal quality of this water, located in the sacred geometry room, can create visions that are connected to other universes and timelines. This means the gland that is behind our brain, exactly in the center of our forehead, opens up a black hole and a wormhole. What an incredible system do we carry inside us? It can connect us to many things, such as dreams, astral projections, observing from afar, visions, telepathy, reaching towards higher self, or even connection to other soul realms. Actually, it does. We can call it Stargate. This pure water inside the pineal gland also exists in the spine, between the bones. In fact, the sperm is produced from this water inside the bones. However, the main vision is still in the pineal gland. The same water in the pineal gland is the purest and is continuously flows. In one of my visions, I saw a stream. There was no sign of its source, but it was very sacred. This is prana water of life, or Abu Hayat. I have also talked about this in my book. It's a miracle that this water flows in the pineal gland. How perfect is the human body? It's projected very well. It's believed that microtubules that are part of the cytoskeleton can provide connections between body and consciousness inside the brain neurons. In 4 dimensions, everything happens with telepathy. It's very easy and normal to materialize the power of thought. We know that some people can travel with telepathy to anywhere they like, even observe the people there, and also time travel to see the past events like a movie. Perhaps I experience it too. It's all related to the activation of the pineal gland. Sometimes tapping on the pineal gland, in other words, shocking the pineal gland, can have an impact. When I want to see things, I apply this method. For example, you can feel somebody is talking about you. You even know who that is, even hear it. At that moment, you can block that parallel wave that is coming towards you with your hands in a cutting gesture. Or you may want to see what's happening. Pineal gland works like a TV receptor and reflector. You can perceive the person 8,000 kilometers away and feel that person's burden weighing on you. This, as well as telekinesis, telepathy, imagination, even the magic that esoteric schools are keenly interested on, are about using the pineal gland in advanced levels. It can be used as positive or negative. Duality is relative. When we are working to improve our spiritual development, clear vision, connection with higher self, increase our awareness, understanding our soul consciousness. We are actually trying to activate the functioning of our pineal gland. Esoteric schools have coded this information as a pine cone. It looks like a small eye and turns in a spiral way. Remember the statue in Vatican. In the womb, pineal gland starts to develop on day 21. It reacts to light and darkness. Although it's located deep in the brain, it has many photoreceptors, just like the retina of the eyes. In snakefish and some lizards like Tuatara, pineal gland is located on the skin. In us, it's right in the center of the forehead, like the one-eyed giant cyclops. This third eye can be seen with cornea photoreceptors. In truth, our real eye is the third eye. Melatonin is triggered by darkness and granted by light. Why do we have such a unit that is deep in the brain and reacts to light? Latest researchers show the similarities between retina and pineal gland. Just like piezoelectric microcrystals, retina-like tissue inside the pineal gland can pass on the photons, then is sent to brain and dissolve as vision. This is what we call the eye of the mind. We can have a vision of a friend calling us before it actually happens. I'm sure you experienced that before. DNA gathers the light and passes it on the other cells. This is the explanation. Can we watch these processes in the eye of our mind? Yes, we can. Inner chamber of pineal gland consists of pure water and small crystals that respond to piezoelectric frequencies. Some esoteric schools claim Holy Grail is the water of life or the secret to living forever. They claim this is the pineal gland. I agree with this, but let's assume the Holy Grail is a tool just like the Ark of the Covenant. I believe these are for hybridization, creating a new form, whether human and animal. Just like remolaculator using 3D printers to create. I have some information on this. DMT and other chemical substances along with some plants are used to connect to the soul and inspire euphoric experiences. So the plants also have DMT. Pineal gland produce 3 hormones: serotonin, melatonin, and DMT. Pineal gland produces melatonin only in darkness. It's a hormone that regulates our sleeping and waking time. Pineal gland works between 11 at night till 5 in the morning. Around 3 and 4 a.m. it functions at maximum. Those who are blunt are at less risk of cancer. Just before sunrise, pineal gland peaks its function. DMT, or also known as soul molecule, is also produced at maximum at these early hours of morning. It's also a time where deep visions are seen and astral training is given. How would we feel if we are traveling in the other realms during sleep and continue that experience after waking up? What type of reality could that be? Sometimes I feel that way, not sure whether I am on earth or in the sky. In the initiation stage, devotees live in the dark with very little food, stay in very small spaces, sometimes in the ditches they dig themselves in, or stay inside a wall for 40 days. I have talked about the significance of 40 in the series of Bakara video. There are many series in Arbain 40. You may be familiar with Ahmet Yesevi Dicht. I visited the house of Somuncu Baba in Bursa. I was very touched after seeing the section within the wall where initiates spend time inside is so small, one must stay in fetus position to remain there. Also, they don't eat or drink for days. Buddhist and Hindu priestesses extend their retreat time longer. They can slow down the blood flow in the body. They stay in complete neutrality without food or water. This is the state of the initiate. Perhaps we can talk about how the Egyptian priests go through this process in another video. I understand they bury themselves in the earth and breathe with a straw. These people have either experienced such traumatic events in their lives or feel completely surrendered to the one in order to go through such discipline. They chose it willingly to stay inside the pyramids or in the caves like Tibetan monks. All prophets spent considerable time in the caves. They lived for a long time inside the caves and exposed themselves to certain entities that are present in caves. This is not easy to do this. These entities are manipulative. Perhaps there were uncomfortable sounds inside the caves, but still they stayed there to be initiated. This way they were purifying the anger and enjoyment of worldly life. Some experience a traumatic event and lose their old life suddenly. In these situations, the pineal gland can be activated with a shock. Baba Vanga had a tornado accident and lost her eyes. After that, he became a medium. Edgar Cayce was very ill. In his deathbed, he became a sleeping oracle. Those who are manipulating the world are using fluoride, certain music, additives, GMO food, even vaccination. I won't talk about vaccination as the techniques to keep the pineal gland inactive and to establish a slavery system. Serotonin regulates the physical and spiritual functions. It's the happiness hormone. Lack of serotonin can create physical and spiritual problems. DMT is soul molecule, also called the eye of the heart. In Islam, it's the dying of the ego. Death before death is realized at the maximum before birth and death. Why? The surgeons observed the moment of the death and found that person during the death process see certain beings akin to their culture. When the DMT released before death, people experience walking towards to the light of the one at 7th dimension. We see the one during birth and death. I believe DMT provides the passage between antiverse and universe. During astral travels, DMT is also realized at maximum. DMT helps with these types of black hole exit. Why do we need the DMT hormone in order to see 7 dimension? There is a secret here. Babies can remember their past lives until the age of 4 or sometimes of 7. Women after birth can spend 40 days in a sensitive stage. The reason is DMT. Both in the mother and newly born baby, DMT is high. This means they both are experiencing the entry and the exit from the antiverse. During postnatal stage, I experienced something. I was lying down in bed with my baby. I felt manipulated to sleep, but I stayed in clear vision, half asleep and half awake. I saw a little being abducting my baby. As my baby cried, I saw my baby on the floor. There is no way a baby can fall off the bed themselves. This is Alcara, the being that abducts. DMT also exists in animals and plants. It's thought that the network field of the plants is a telepathic state and functions according to DMT. In one vision, it's said that there are plant beings with human consciousness in one of the 3-dimension planes connected to the Sirius. In the 3rd dimension of our galaxy, there are many souls that don't use human body. This is also the same in Sirius and Orion, that are our local lines. Is also said there are very little souls with human body here, and that our human body is mostly in 5 dimension used by Nordic as half energetic, half physical bodies. I suppose after a sudden change, human bodies were chosen here. Consumption of DMT plant T activates the pineal gland. Rumi said üzerlik seed covered the darkness and true vision was shown. Rumi must have used both the spiral whirling sema and üzerlik seed. When the sound of ney flute made from the pike similar to ayahuasca is used, you can imagine one opens their wings. If the pineal gland is a connector and our brain is a model to the universe, then it's not difficult to connect to the divine flow and access Akashic records. Pineal gland during the ancient times was the size of a golf ball. It got smaller over time from not being used. The magnetic frequency of the Earth has increased from 7.8 to 14 Hz and is continuing to rise. We can say it's not too long before the poles flip. Earth has a solar system and animals live in sync with it. The axis is located exact at 22 degrees northeast. Some claim when it reaches 36 it will flip. Grasshoppers are transition between insect and animal. Bats are both mammalians and birds. Mushrooms are both plants and animals. These are chaotic, transitional beings and can be easily manipulated. There is manipulation where there is chaos. See the countries in chaos, they are manipulated easily. When the pineal gland is stimulated in animals, they synchronize with solar system. In other words, magnetism of the Earth simulates animals. Birds can perceive solar system via the navigation system built within them. The matrix moving within its inherent timeline activates the solar system and animal follow this call. Solar system is connected to the magnetism, is actually related to the melted iron inside the center of the Earth. This ring turns clockwise near the center of the Earth. In biosphere, the ring turns anti-clockwise. This movement is also happening inside them, like Merkaba. It creates a cycle and levitation happens. You can explain the levitation of the clothes in the same way. Ley lines of the Earth also shows changes depending on the magnetism of the Earth, and this can impact the animals. Pineal gland in human being is development on day 21 and completes on day 120. Learning cycle of the brain is also 21 days. Women have menstruation every 21 days. They are all connected to the cycle of moon, that is 21 days. Let's talk about the projection of the baby. I talk about this in detail in my Matrix and Destiny video, so I will only touch on the projection aspect here. You have promised how to shape your life with your creation codes, ESMA, before you came here. Then your frequency has reached a certain point by the time you died. Your new avatar body is programmed in Antiverse. In Antiverse, the person appears as 33 years old of their previous life. If the person died as a baby, then the appearance is of 3 or 4 years old. I talk about this in my book as well. If you haven't reached a point of frequency, meaning if you got stuck on a point on the realization chamber, then you need extra points to take a new avatar body. So you will need support from a mother and a father to increase your point of frequency. In Destiny Analysis, we base our study on the mother. This is because the mother is the mitochondrial DNA, and this means genetic karma is passed by the mother. This is the reason we have to pay back the karma of our parents. The soul never enters the matrix. It's projected by a silver cable from Antiverse. 1/8 always stays in Antiverse, and 7/8 is projected to this matrix. The first organ that develops in the womb is the pineal gland, and it continues developing until day 120. After that, the new avatar body that is programmed in the Antiverse and is projected to the pineal gland and to the womb. The frequency of the soul has Akashic records, the totality of your karma. On day 120 is projected to the pineal gland. When death happens, the Ba essence of soul is extracted from the pineal gland. Ka stays in the tomb and suffers until doomsday. Ba continues its journey of incarnations. Therefore, it's not right to have abortion after day 120. The next 9 months, 10 days for the full development is also connected to the moon cycle. A brand new body is programmed in the Antiverse based on the soul frequency value. We can never incarnate in the same body, but the essence of soul produce Ka during lifetime. Ka is a ghost and associates itself with the body and suffers in the tomb. If you accept Amentu, you accept the reincarnation. There are lots of references in the Quran, and I talk about it in my videos. Let's continue with the pineal gland. It functions at the highest level around 4 and 5 years old. Therefore, the physical powers can be high at this time. Some children can predict future or feel the negativity of the person around them. Animals do it too. My dog, very friendly by nature, would bite negative people. Children see the unseen without even trying. Some children have imaginary friends and see them. Our eyes as adults have thicker veil. Children live in a multi-dimensional reality. Some children also remember their past lives. We can't even remember it during regressions. The main reason for this is that in children, serotonin is transformed to melatonin. This has two effects. The first is that serotonin increases happiness, and this creates a different perception. The second effect is that the increase in melatonin that is responsible for biological cycles of sleep, release of hormones, and temperature of the body slows down the pituitary gland, which is responsible for the balance of all internal glands. Around the age 7 and 8, the pineal gland's functioning slows down. Pituitary gland starts to synchronize the reproductive system. With the decreases in production of melatonin, serotonin reservoir starts to decrease too. Therefore, the doors of intuitive perception, playing, and imagination of the child is shut down. It can remain shut down for the remaining of life, and the inner child is hardly seen. The section of the brain remains in sleep. It can remain awake in some people, and those people have high physic abilities. When the pineal gland is activated, we experience a state of peace. When we understand all is one, we feel as innocent as a child. This is also the state of ego death. The innocence child state can inspire love. You may feel that you love everyone and feel the need to be loved by everyone. Actually, this causes a physical risk. It's like being in love with love. It's better to fall in love with the Creator and take away the perception of identity away. So the sorrows of this life can be seen differently by the inner child. We begin to see everything as a game, an illusion. Kundalini Yoga is another method of activating the pineal gland. It causes transformational change in the endocrinal glands and reduce the serotonin levels in the brain tissues. Our childhood can continue its journey from where it stayed. Jesus said, "You cannot enter the kingdom of heaven unless you are innocent like a child." This is actually the life in the four-dimension plane. To be in the state of love as hurt chakra functions high. We can restore the consciousness of our inner child by purifying the endocrinal system and by changing the biochemistry of our brain. Some friends have managed to slow down the process of aging. When Kundalini energy is awakened, the primitive energy among all chakras moves in a downward spiral. Scientists also inform if pineal gland is used correctly, one can have telepathic skills and even travel in time. Some people are born with physics skills, but this is not known until later in life. Sudden trauma, a painful life, can cause brain to increase its electric activity in order to survive. This can open up new doors. This is actually a state of surrender. There is no one to go except the one. At first, people play Pollyanna and think everyone is nice. Then the person creates karma or diverges from the right path. They become protectionless by the divine laws. So even the smallest mistake can activate the mirrors other people. If there is severity in their creation codes, the person starts to experience painful events. This is because of the rule of this matrix. Stronger manipulates the weaker. Events happen. The person gets hurt and fall down. They get up, but next time a stronger hit comes. There is nowhere to escape at this time, so you surrender. For example, a person who suddenly lost all their wealth can surrender, die to his ego and change his life completely. His pineal starts to see everything. The pineal gland that is shut down for survival becomes a tool in creation. This is a joint creation mode, the desire to reach to the one and infinite happiness. This is the most peaceful state. Everything outside has tried to destroy you, but you can still depend on the one. People who experience trauma can activate their pineal gland faster. Everything is magnetism. Pineal gland is a black hole. It functions according to the changes in magnetic fields. All methods, such as ayahuasca, drinking üzerlik tea, or reciting names of Allah like I do, and staying in the dark, are an effort to increase our frequency. When the frequency is increased, we change the magnetic field. This is a very crucial point. It means if you change your frequency, you can transition to the next reality. Shape of pineal gland is a pine cone and turns around itself. This creates a magnetic field in which soul can locate its seat and increase body's frequency. I would like to talk about a perception my friend and I experienced. It's like heartbeat. It's there and it's not there. It's like an eye blink. This moment happens from the cycling. Piezoelectric crystal is cycling in light speed around the pineal gland. Bakara is also Merkaba. We talk about is before as a bull. Shiva's vehicle is also a bull. It's like a heartbeat. It's there and not there. Soul recycles in the same way. Life is blown with Elif. it continues as lam and ends with mim. During the cycling, black hole and white hole works together. In our body, pineal gland does this. All other beings have a network. All of them have organs or units that does the same. Everywhere in universe, in cosmos, in parallel universes, galaxies, stars, in animals and humans, everything is connected like a cobweb. There is always a cycle, and this cycle expands the piezoelectric everywhere. Life and soul is given in this way to the universe. In one of my visions, I was in a high cave and was very surprised to see the location was very similar to Eskişehir Kemikli Cave. I saw a big entity, a holy being. Is not the first time I saw them. I talk about Azrael in my book. Those who read my book will how painful that experience was. Azrael was red-haired and had red stripes. This being was similar to that. A big entity 3 times as being like a tool. He was holding something in his hands and rolled it out. He said, "This is the manifesto of the unseen secrets, and that I should read it well." I read it carefully for a long time. Then he directed me towards the deep ends of the cave. Someone was sitting there. After we passed him, they gave me a tool. In one end of this tool, there is a stick that turns halazonic in an upward spiral like the pineal gland. There are balls inside, mixed with gold and iron. This is magnetism. It kept making a sound as I rolled it out. It's made in the same color from a very thin plate. The sound that comes out is very deep. It travels up and goes down. Later on, they showed me a version made of plywood. As both of them made sounds, different creatures started to come out. It seemed they gave me a prototype tool of the pineal gland. They create a type of wormhole for transition. I learned later on that a German scientist did this with mirrors. They even put humans inside the spirals and they transitioned into different realities. Some of them lost their mental health, like those in Philadelphia experiments. I drew these shapes down after I woke up. I realized my friend, who appeared also in my dream, was working on a tool to observe the cave creatures. It was shown to me at night as a vision. As I provided my friend with the missing link, they completed the construction of the tool and are able to observe these beings. Those with psychic skills can access their inner human abilities. The reason why natural healing methods can help where medicine gets stuck is also in the pineal gland. It means the healer is able to draw the most suitable divine prana from the divine flow. We can connect to Akashic records in this way. Jesus, Edgar Cayce, and Abdulkadir Geylani were able to do that. Vegetarian diet affects the pineal gland in positive way. Pineal gland needs clean air, clean water, a life away from stress, sleeping in a dark room, living the fresh streams, sunlight, and serotonin. Serotonin is produced during sleep. It can also be found in fruits and vegetables such as banana, almonds, chili pepper, and potato. They provide nutrition for the pineal gland. Fish with high levels of mercury, fizzy drinks, fluoride, smoke, and chemical negativity affect the pineal gland. Meat is not recommended due to law of non-violence. You sow what you reap. According to ancient yoga, every organ has consciousness. Body harms itself with negative thought. Thinking is an order upon itself. Placebo effect can help cancer patients recover. During my dark periods, I told a psychologist I was ordering my cells to die. He told me he has never met anyone like me and that I was living in the death consciousness. You can make yourself sick, order yourselves to die and find yourself in deathbed, or you can recover from a deadly illness. Person who controls their thoughts and body can access unlimited power. That means you are in control of your soul. Please make the connection between soul and thought. What is thought? We know creation beings with thought. Our brain keeps sending electromagnetic signals to universe. These thoughts rise faster than the speed of light. Thought is reflected back to our brain with speed of light. This means speed of thought exceeds speed of light. It leaves the light universe and enters into antiverse and is reflected back to light universe. We are responsible for our thoughts. Thought creates holographic image container that is essential in the creation of matter. Thought has power. Every thought, positive or negative, returns to us likely boomerang. I talk about how fast is manifests when we gain something unjustly. In short, our brain works like a receptor. It can connect to different frequency and provides information flow. The template of the universe is copied in our brain. This is the evidence that the infinite is copied within us. I will now talk about one of latest perception I received in a vision. I saw a bouquet of lights coming out from a center point. It had infinite colors and types of life forms. Like a heartbeat, they exist in one moment and disappeared on the next. Then they gathered in a center point, and from that center point, a bouquet of light came out again. A drop is a mirror of the ocean. Drops are projections. Perhaps the biggest is hidden in the smallest. Finally, I would like to tell a story. It helps with understanding how the pineal gland works and what experiences can be felt is from the book Amak Hayal by Filibeli Ahmet İlmi. He talks about how the dimensional reality can change with the pineal gland. The character in the book is Raji, who tries to understand his life and work towards activating his pineal gland like us. He is actually trying to find the one. In his search, he meets with Aynalı, who is a crazy man and walks around with mirror hang on himself. But he is a great guide. He helps Raji experience such visions, and Raji's awareness reaches higher level. There are not many guides like Aynalı. If you find one, don't let him go. It was the fourth day of giving up alcohol. I felt as if I never drank alcohol. I am sure over the years my brain was damaged by this addiction, but I felt it was recovering after 4 days. This is because since the day I met Aynalı, I was doing gymnastics of thoughts and contemplation without sleep. I left my house. My mom saw me off with pleased but worried eyes. She couldn't understand the recent changes in me. I was her only security in life. My dad passed away years ago. With these thoughts, I came to the door of the cemetery and stood by the top of one of the Ottoman-sized maths professors. I would have liked to have benefited from his knowledge, but it was too late for that. Now I was learning the knowledge and wisdom of Aynalı. My ego started to rise. I took education of Shariat and cult sciences in Europe and in Istanbul. Aynalı was an explorer and showed miracles, but did he know anything about the psychics and maths? Could he know how the universe came to be? Could he understand the theory of creation according to science? Or would he answer in an ignorant way by saying only Allah knows? Do you think he needed to ask us how to do all this? Even he didn't say that. He still was a blessed being who lived in his own realm of the hurt. I decided not to dwell on that. I heard the sound of ney flute and noticed the smell of coffee and smoke as I approached his cottage. He stood up warmly to welcome me, welcome my light. I was embarrassed by his hospitality. We took our medicine, the coffee, in big cups. After some ney flute music and poetry, he took me to the tomb of the Ottoman cities where I stood earlier. He asked me to lie down on his tomb and learn the wisdom of this blessed being. I felt embarrassed as this suggestion was a direct answer to my questions. I lied down on the marble tomb and noticed the stone that was shaped like a Hodi kavuk. Hodi appeared to come to life and started to turn around me. My eyes got heavy. The process of transition to my inner self began. I found myself in a very dark room, lying down on a soft bed. I was on a marble earlier and weather was sunny. Now I was on a cotton bed and in the dark. This dimensional journey was different than the previous ones. I couldn't perceive myself as a double identity. My body felt the same. I was a Mitraji in every way, but I was in a dimension located deep in my dream and consciousness. They opened the door slowly while I was trying to discover my environment. A male voice asked, "Did you wake up?" I didn't respond, as I couldn't see anyone. This man couldn't be my dad, as he died years ago, and I lived with my mother. According to which reality was I supposed to respond? I woke up suddenly in the cemetery. Alina was playing the nail flute as if nothing was happening. I got afraid of myself. My heart was pumping as if it wanted to rip out. I was in both dimensions at the same time. I was in the same body and consciousness as my reality. I told Alina in an angry way, "This man is waiting for an answer. What should I say?" He waved me off without a care and continued to play his nail flute. There was nothing I could do. I sat by the cemetery. I was listening to nail flute on this plane of reality, but was in trouble in another reality. The man asked again, "Are you awake?" I responded, "Yes. Are you my dad?" This was an answer from my earthly dimension. If he answered yes, I would take the rule of the sun. If not, I was to think something else. I got a response I didn't expect. He said, "Are you going crazy?" I responded, "No, but my dad died years ago." This answer put me in further trouble. He started to scream, "Oh my God, my son is hit by the human. He is talking nonsense." This situation was difficult. I couldn't figure out the logic of this dimension and couldn't take a chance. They would treat the mad one differently. In order to make the situation better, I said, "I'm only joking, Dad. Perhaps you can order some candles or light. This place is very dark." The man started to cry in despair. "Hey everyone, my son is going mad. The infinite sun has risen to all universes and he says it's dark. I'm not feeling good now. Please, my son, don't lose your mind. I have no other security than you." The room that was dark to me, but it was light to this man. I started to think he is mad. To make the situation better, I said that perhaps the windows are shut. No light is coming through. He moved away, shouting, "My God, our son is getting mad. There is nothing that can stop the light coming through. We are not blind. Help, help." Afterwards, many relatives came to the room. I could see my mother, uncles, aunties. They all introduced themselves and offered get well wishes. I was going crazy according to them. Mom and Dad were crying in sadness. I decided not to respond to the relatives and decided to stay quiet, as they would think I am mad too. I remembered I had a match in my pocket and lit one. What I saw was so funny. I started to laugh. My relatives were in human body, but they had one eye between their nose and forehead. There were layers upon it like onion skin. As they heard me, they started to have 4 legs and started to jump up and down. I was in a laughter coma and threw myself to the floor laughing until my throat swelled up. As I sat up, they got in front of me in a line and that kissed my hand in grace. Bless your ring, you white fetus. The yellow evil, you finally made that sound that we have been waiting for 1,000 years. Now I will tell all red devils so that they come and show their respect. Tell everyone. The sound of my laughter must have been something they never heard and considered it as a sacred symbol. I didn't know how they saw me or themselves. I didn't notice the matchlight, but they were perceiving with the infinite sun. However, I couldn't perceive with the same light. I made a hand torch with the stuff I found and examined the room I was in for a few days. There were big tall buildings that looked like lace. They were very skilled in hand decoration arts and all materials were natural. They showed great importance to the education buildings. The vaulty was covered with faculties of literature, philosophy, theology. There was no sign of science and maths. Although I only spent few minutes in this realm, but lived in the other for 3 days, I was experiencing different times in the same moment. Let's move on to the second story. It's about an ant. Our hero comes to the earth and sees himself as a prince. He shows human traits too, similar to the other story. One of his teachers asks for help. My prince, the land located in the north of our city, is experiencing some strange stuff. In one report delivered to us by a high school student, there are strange weather events happening every day and we don't know why. This place is usually shining with the sun, then suddenly the clouds come, then they disappear. As you know, these natural events cannot be understood with logic and mind. We should do experiments. All other phenomena are resolved except this. He continued, a great teacher will give a conference today. If you like, we can go there together. With a big crowd, we started to go to the field. With my ant eyes, I could see this place was important. With my human eyes, this was a street with curbs and shops. Conference began as I contemplated upon the difference of this. Sirs, the thing that captivates our attention. Here is the order and the shape of the rooms and the canals. Masters don't know how it could be so orderly. They are filled with perfect lines. Nothing in nature looks like this. Then a laughter burst out. A sudden rain started to pour. Some ants gone in the flood and some was trying to escape. Thousands of ants were gone in the flood. After the initial shock, I wanted to understand the reason. There were still raindrops. As I looked with my human eye, I started to laugh. We were standing by the side of a curb on this street, which they called the Strange Land. There was a horse carriage standing, and the horses couldn't eat from the sack. They started being in agreement. All the float was because of this. All ants were busy with my corpse. I also died in the float. Masters were trying to understand the reason. Finally, a respected natural science professor found the reason in a book in the library. It said strange land sometimes experiences electric, and this intensifies the air, so the clouds start to pour. How similar is this theory to what we think of clouds and rain? When I heard it, I remembered how the horses ate and peed. I couldn't stop laughing. I always say, I also think electricity of the clouds are the reflection of other clouds. I suddenly stopped and realized we are no different than ants. Let's continue. Then I saw Alina. He was laughing and playing a strange game and mumbling to himself. The sun shines and the universes we hurl. Then one day it all goes out. The one with the secret knowledge. Do you know who causes that knowing? There is nobody who comes and goes, who asks or knows. There is no rose or thorn. Do you know why? The I doesn't exist. Then who is doing all this? Human doesn't know himself. You know why? If I say, is the one, what does it mean? Does one word mean a reason? I ask you, who is the reason? I sincerely hope that you can activate your pineal gland and connect to the universe. See you again in another video of the Divine Secrets. Bye.